You see, men spend their lives chasing women, but the moment you learn how to flip the script, everything changes. Imagine a world where she's the one thinking about you, missing you, and chasing you. That's exactly what I'm about to reveal today. When most men hear the concept of no contact, they misunderstand it completely. They think silence means ignoring her, cutting her off like a child throwing a tantrum, or trying to punish her into missing them. But that is the weakest way to use silence. True silence is not about games, and it is not about manipulation. It's about reclaiming your power, your presence, and your value by removing yourself from the dynamic where you are constantly chasing, explaining, and justifying your worth. Women can feel the difference between silence that comes from desperation and silence that comes from strength. Desperate silence is obvious. It's heavy, filled with expectations, and it screams, "I'm waiting for you to notice me." But powerful silence, the kind we are talking about here, is calm, grounded, and unbothered. It's the type of silence that communicates, "I don't need to convince you of my worth. You already know it. And if you don't, that's your loss." Women are highly intuitive. They don't just hear your words, they sense your energy. When you pull away and go quiet, she will notice the energy shift immediately. In fact, silence has always been one of the strongest psychological triggers in human behavior because people crave what they cannot easily access. When you stop flooding her with messages, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to win her attention, suddenly she is left with an uncomfortable void. That void forces her to reflect. She begins to think about why she doesn't hear from you anymore, why you've disappeared, and why she suddenly feels less important in your world. This is where the power of silence begins to work in your favor, because instead of you chasing her, she starts chasing the answer to one question. Why isn't he chasing me anymore? The biggest mistake men make is believing that silence is just waiting for her to call or text. That's not silence with power, that's just passivity. Silence with power is active. It means you're silent toward her, but loud in your personal growth, loud in your progress, loud in how you live your life without her presence. That's what creates the magnetism. If she sees that your silence comes with a shift in your energy, your looks, your confidence, and even your social presence, she will begin to associate your absence with growth, and that triggers something deep within her psychology. She realizes she doesn't have the same control over you as before, and that realization plants the seed of curiosity and fear of loss. Think about it like this. When you are always available, always reaching out, always trying to prove yourself, she subconsciously feels that she owns your attention. There is no challenge. But when your silence is firm, when you stop giving her the validation she once received so easily, she begins to question her place in your life. Questions start running through her mind. Is he moving on? Did he find someone else? Why doesn't he need me anymore? Why do I feel like I've lost my grip on him? Those questions create an emotional chase. Women chase not because you force them to, but because they feel the discomfort of losing influence over someone they thought would always be there. Another important aspect of silence is that it breaks patterns. If you were the man who always called, always texted, always initiated, your silence is a shock to the system. It disrupts her expectations. At first, she may brush it off, telling herself you're just busy, but as the silence stretches, the doubt grows. She begins to overanalyze, replay past conversations, and wonder what shifted. This is where her mind does the chasing long before her actions show it. Remember, attraction isn't built through comfort, it's built through tension. And silence, when grounded in strength, creates that tension. The power of silence also lies in the fact that it gives you leverage without confrontation. You don't have to argue, you don't have to prove a point, you don't have to beg for respect. Silence demands respect by itself. When you withhold access to your time, your energy, and your attention, you send a clear message. I am not desperate. I am not dependent on you for my happiness. I choose who gets my energy, and right now, it's not you. That message, without a single word spoken, hits deeper than any argument ever could. One of the biggest mistakes men make during no contact is wasting the silence. They spend this time obsessing over her, scrolling through her pictures, checking her social media stories, and analyzing every possible scenario in their heads. That mindset is not only self-destructive, but it also defeats the entire purpose of no contact. This period is not meant for you to sit in pain waiting for her return. It's meant for you to reinvent yourself so completely that by the time she sees you again, she barely recognizes the man standing in front of her. This is the gap where you decide whether you remain the same desperate, dependent man she left, or whether you emerge as the upgraded version of yourself who commands respect, attraction, and attention without even asking for it. When you focus on upgrading yourself during this gap, you are no longer playing her game. You're building your own. You need to think about the areas of your life that you may have neglected while you were caught up in the cycle of chasing her approval. Was it your physical fitness? Was it your career or finances? Was it your social circle or your hobbies? Maybe it was your mental health or even your sense of purpose. Women are deeply attracted to men who are evolving, growing, and moving forward. Nothing creates more curiosity and desire than when she sees that the man she thought she had figured out is now operating on an entirely different level. Start with your body because physical transformation is the most visible and undeniable change you can make. Hitting the gym consistently, improving your diet, and taking care of your appearance are not just about looking good. They are about sending a message to yourself and to others that you respect yourself enough to invest in your well-being. When she notices that your frame looks stronger, your style looks sharper, and your overall energy radiates confidence, it will create a powerful contrast in her mind. She will remember the man you were, and now she will see the man you are becoming. That gap between the two versions of you is what fuels her curiosity and makes her want to chase. But upgrading yourself is not just about the physical. It's about leveling up mentally and emotionally. Read more books, study human psychology, learn new skills, and refine your mindset. A man who is constantly growing is a man who cannot be easily replaced. During no contact, you have the perfect opportunity to focus on personal development without distractions. Imagine how magnetic it will feel when she realizes that the man who once needed her validation now carries himself with such certainty that he doesn't seek it from anyone. That shift is intoxicating to a woman because deep down she wants to be with a man who is in control of his own life and not desperate for hers. Your lifestyle should also reflect this upgrade. Instead of staying stuck in routine, start exploring new hobbies, traveling if possible, meeting new people, and expanding your social circle. Not only does this build your confidence, but it also sends a subtle message that your life is full and exciting without her presence. If she happens to see glimpses of this new version of you, whether through mutual friends, social media, or pure chance, her mind will instantly start comparing her absence with the quality of your life now. That comparison often becomes unbearable for her because the human instinct is to chase what feels valuable and rare, and the upgraded version of you will feel like a prize she no longer has easy access to. Finances and purpose are also crucial areas to focus on. Women are naturally drawn to ambition, drive, and stability. During no contact, you must double down on your career, your side hustles, or your passions. Pour your energy into building something that makes you proud and secure. When she sees that you are no longer wasting energy chasing her, but instead using that energy to elevate your life, she will begin to wonder where she fits into your new world. The man who was once predictable has now become mysterious, driven, and attractive in a way she can't ignore. The truth is, women don't chase men who remain stagnant. They chase men who evolve. They chase men who show them, without saying a word, that they are on a journey of growth. And she may not be able to keep up unless she makes an effort. This is why upgrading yourself during the gap is the most important step. It flips the script. Instead of you wondering whether she'll come back, you become the man she cannot stop thinking about, the man she feels she is losing grip on, and the man she suddenly wants to pursue all over again. One of the deepest psychological truths about human nature is this: we always place the highest value on what feels rare, and we overlook what feels abundant. This principle applies to money, opportunities, luxury items, and yes, even relationships. Scarcity is the reason people wait in line for hours to buy something that isn't even objectively better than what they already have. But because it is limited, because it is hard to access, it instantly becomes more desirable. Now imagine applying this same principle to the dynamic you have with a woman. If you are constantly available, always picking up her calls immediately, always texting back within seconds, always rearranging your plans to fit hers, you have unconsciously taught her one thing: you are abundant and easily accessible. And what is abundant and easily accessible never feels urgent, never feels special, and never feels worth chasing. Scarcity, however, flips the script completely. When you withdraw your presence during no contact, when you stop being the man she can reach at any moment, she begins to feel something she may not have felt in a long time: loss. She notices the absence of your energy, your words, your attention, and that absence creates an emotional vacuum. Human beings hate vacuums. We instinctively want to fill them. That is why when you are no longer around, she doesn't just feel indifferent, she feels unsettled. That unsettled feeling is the spark of desire being triggered through scarcity. Think about how people treat water. When it flows freely from the tap, we don't think much of it. But if suddenly there was a shortage, if suddenly water became scarce, every drop would become precious. Your presence and attention work the same way. When you were overgiving, always initiating, always showing up, she may have enjoyed it at first, but over time, she subconsciously took it for granted. That's not because she is ungrateful, but because this is how human psychology is wired. We stop valuing what is always there. So when you deliberately create scarcity, when you stop flooding her with your presence, you change the way she perceives you. What was once ordinary suddenly becomes rare, and what is rare instantly becomes desirable. Scarcity also taps into one of the most powerful emotions humans experience: fear of loss. A woman may not even want to be with you at the moment, but if she feels that you are truly slipping away, that another woman might soon take your place, or that you are moving on into a life where she no longer has influence, her instincts will push her to take action. She may start reaching out, checking up on you, or even testing to see if she still has access to you. That behavior is not random. It is scarcity pulling her back toward you. The less available you are, the more her subconscious works over time to close that gap, because the possibility of losing access to something valuable always intensifies the desire for it. But it's important to understand that scarcity only works when you have genuine value behind it. If you disappear and do nothing with your life, if you vanish into silence but come back the same man with no growth, your scarcity has no weight. True scarcity is not about pretending. It's about actually becoming the kind of man whose presence is worth missing. That means you need to be building, evolving, and strengthening yourself during the time you are silent. When she notices that not only are you less available, but you're also becoming more attractive, more confident, more ambitious, and more fulfilled without her, the scarcity effect multiplies. She doesn't just feel your absence. She feels the possibility that your new life may not include her, and that thought alone can drive her to chase harder than before. Another layer of scarcity is mystery. When you're not always updating her, when you're not explaining your every move, she is left with questions. Questions create curiosity, and curiosity creates desire. She starts to wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and why you no longer revolve around her. That mystery is intoxicating because it denies her the certainty she once had. Certainty feels safe but boring, while uncertainty feels dangerous but exciting. By making yourself scarce, you remove the safety net she once relied on, and suddenly she feels compelled to pursue you just to regain that sense of control. Scarcity is not about playing games or acting cold. It's about understanding the law of value in relationships. If you give too much of yourself without boundaries, you lower your perceived value. But when you learn to control your availability, to hold back just enough so that your presence feels earned and not guaranteed, you automatically become more attractive. She no longer assumes you will always be there, and that realization creates a deep internal shift. Suddenly, your time, your attention, and your energy feel like luxuries she has to win back, not commodities she can access anytime she pleases. That shift is what makes her chase. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood concepts when it comes to attraction and relationships. Most men think detachment means not caring, ignoring her completely, or shutting off all feelings. That's not detachment, that's suppression. True detachment is not about pretending you don't care. It's about shifting your mindset so that your happiness, self-worth, and identity are not dependent on how she responds to you. When you detach from the outcome, you take away her power to control your emotions. You no longer sit by the phone waiting for her to text back. You no longer base your mood on whether she gives you attention. You no longer live in fear of rejection because your value doesn't hinge on her validation. And that shift is incredibly magnetic because the man who is not afraid to lose is always the man who ends up being chased. Women are naturally drawn to men who have options, not just in dating, but in life. A man who is fulfilled, purposeful, and confident radiates an energy that says, I don't need you to complete me, I am already complete. That doesn't mean you don't desire her or enjoy her company, but it means you don't place the weight of your existence on whether or not she chooses you. Ironically, when you let go of the need to control the outcome, you create the very dynamic that makes her more interested. Why? Because she feels the difference between a man who clings and a man who flows. The one who clings suffocates her. The one who flows intrigues her. Detachment also eliminates desperation, and desperation is one of the biggest attraction killers. When a woman senses that you are trying too hard to win her back, when she feels that your entire focus is on regaining her approval, she automatically pulls away. But when she senses that you are detached, that you're living your life regardless of her choices, she starts to question her own importance in your world. She wonders why she doesn't have the same pull over you anymore, why you seem unaffected, why you seem free. That freedom is attractive because it signals strength. It shows that you are a man who is in control of himself rather than a man controlled by his emotions. Detachment is also powerful because it puts the focus back where it belongs, on yourself. When you are obsessed with the outcome, you constantly analyze her behavior, her responses, her silence. Every little action she takes becomes a source of stress. But when you detach, you stop obsessing over what she's doing and start investing that energy into what you're doing. You build your fitness, your career, your hobbies, your mindset. And as you do that, you naturally shift into a position of strength. The energy you carry changes from, I hope she wants me, to, I am building such a powerful life that whoever wants to be part of it has to earn a place here. That subtle shift makes all the difference. Another key part of detachment is letting go of expectations. Expectation is a trap that keeps you in emotional chains. When you expect her to call, expect her to apologize, expect her to chase you, you set yourself up for disappointment if she doesn't. And that disappointment will show in your behavior, whether you realize it or not. But when you detach, you stop expecting and start accepting. You accept that whatever happens is for your growth. You accept that if she comes back, it's because she chooses to, not because you forced her to. And if she doesn't, it only clears space for something better. That calmness, that certainty is exactly what women find irresistible. What's fascinating about detachment is how it creates space for her to actually miss you. When you stop pressuring her for attention, when you stop chasing and needing constant reassurance, you give her the freedom to feel her own emotions. That's when she begins to wonder about you, to reflect on what she's lost, to feel the emptiness of your absence. Detachment allows her to come toward you on her own terms, which is far more powerful than trying to push her into it. The more you let go, the more she feels the pull to come closer. At the heart of it, detachment is about trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your value, trust that the right people will stay in your life without you forcing them. When you truly internalize this, you stop needing control. You stop overthinking every move. You stop fearing rejection because you know rejection does not define you. And that energy is unshakable. A man who is detached is a man who can walk away without fear. And that is the type of man women chase because deep down they know he cannot be easily owned, manipulated, or broken. One of the biggest mistakes men make after no contact is that the moment they decide to re-enter her world, they do it with too much intensity. They start bombarding her with messages, posting obsessively on social media, or showing up in ways that scream, "Look at me, I'm back." But here's the truth. Overexposure kills curiosity. If you give her too much of yourself all at once, you rob her of the very mystery that could have pulled her back in. The key is not to overwhelm her with your presence, but to reappear in small, subtle, strategic ways that reignite her curiosity and make her wonder about you again. Subtlety has always been more powerful than force when it comes to attraction, because what is subtle makes her think, analyze, and crave answers, while what is obvious is easy to ignore. When you begin to reappear after a phase of silence, the goal is not to convince her of anything. The goal is to spark curiosity, to make her question what you've been up to, and to make her feel that she is missing out on your world. Subtle reappearances can take many forms. It could be as simple as posting a picture on social media where you look sharper, more confident, and more alive than before, without directly addressing her. It could be showing up at a mutual event, but carrying yourself with a calm, self-assured energy instead of chasing her attention. It could even be something as indirect as mutual friends mentioning your progress, your new hobbies, or your achievements in casual conversation. The point is, you are reminding her of your existence without shoving yourself in her face. You are planting seeds of intrigue rather than throwing yourself at her feet. This approach works because women are naturally drawn to mystery and discovery. They want to feel like they are uncovering something, not like something is being forced upon them. If you come back too strong, she feels cornered and pressured, which triggers resistance. But if you show just enough glimpses of the new you, she is left with questions. She begins to wonder, why does he seem so different? Why does he look more confident? Why am I suddenly noticing him again? That curiosity is what drives her to chase. She starts seeking answers, and the more she seeks, the more invested she becomes. Subtle reappearances also carry weight because they reflect confidence. A man who is secure in himself doesn't need to scream for attention. He doesn't need to prove himself through desperate gestures. His presence speaks for itself. Think about the difference between a man who posts 10 pictures a day showing how great he's doing versus a man who posts one meaningful picture that radiates genuine growth and confidence. The second man will always have more impact because his restraint communicates strength. Overexposure looks like desperation. Subtlety looks like certainty. Another important aspect of subtle reappearances is timing. You don't rush the process. You don't come back too soon or too aggressively. You let the silence do its work first, and then when you reappear, it feels impactful because there's been a noticeable gap. The absence makes the reappearance feel heavier, more significant. Imagine hearing a song every single day. You stop noticing it. But if you haven't heard it for months and suddenly it plays, it hits differently. The same principle applies here. Your absence amplifies the effect of your return, but only if your return is controlled and subtle. What makes subtle reappearances even more powerful is that they allow you to maintain mystery. You don't explain yourself. You don't tell her what you've been doing. You don't announce that you've been working on yourself. You let her notice, wonder, and chase the answers. Women are far more drawn to the things they don't fully understand than to the things laid out plainly in front of them. The less you reveal, the more she wants to know. The less you give, the more she craves. This is why subtle reappearances work like magic. They spark curiosity without killing it. When executed properly, this approach shifts the dynamic. Instead of you trying to convince her of your value, you simply live your life in a way that displays it naturally and let her curiosity do the work. She begins to initiate more. She starts conversations. She tests to see if she still has access to you. And the entire time, you are simply being, not forcing. That calm, effortless energy is what draws her back in because it makes her feel that she is chasing something valuable, something she could lose, and something she doesn't fully have under her control anymore. One of the most magnetic shifts a man can make after no contact is to start living as though he is already desired, admired, and pursued by others. Too many men operate from a mindset of lack. They walk around with an energy that says, I hope someone notices me. I hope she validates me. I hope she chooses me. That energy is weak, and women sense it immediately. A man who is needy for attention is unattractive because he communicates that he does not believe in his own value. But when you flip that mindset and start carrying yourself as though you are already wanted, everything changes. Suddenly, you are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are the one doing the choosing. That subtle but powerful shift makes women curious, intrigued, and eager to prove themselves worthy of your attention. Living like you're already wanted doesn't mean being arrogant or acting like you're better than everyone else. It's about embodying a quiet confidence, a sense of self-assurance that says you know your worth, with or without her validation. When you walk into a room, you don't need to announce yourself or demand attention because your presence alone carries weight. You move with certainty, you speak with purpose, and you interact with people in a way that reflects abundance, not scarcity. A man who lives in abundance doesn't cling to anyone because he knows that opportunities, connections, and relationships are always flowing into his life. That abundance mindset is what makes him irresistible because it signals strength, independence, and leadership. When you start living as if you are already wanted, your lifestyle naturally transforms. You don't stay home sulking, waiting for her to call. You fill your schedule with meaningful activities, hobbies, and experiences. You go to the gym, you travel, you network, you learn new skills. You spend time with people who uplift you. You create a life that is so full and exciting that anyone observing from the outside, whether it's her or someone else, can see that you are a man in demand. Women are drawn to men who have vibrant, busy, purposeful lives because it signals that he is valuable to the world, not just to her. And when she sees that your world is thriving without her, her instincts will push her to re-enter it. Another important part of this principle is social proof. People naturally want what others value, and women are no different. When she notices that other people enjoy being around you, that other women respect you, laugh at your jokes, or engage with you, she starts to see you differently. This doesn't mean you have to flaunt other women in her face or play childish jealousy games. It simply means you allow your interactions and your energy to reflect that you are not desperate for her attention because you already have the respect, admiration, and validation of others. This creates a sense of competition in her mind, whether she admits it or not, and competition always fuels desire. Living like you're already wanted also means carrying yourself with standards. You are no longer the man who accepts breadcrumbs, who tolerates disrespect, or who lowers himself just to keep a woman around. A man who knows he is wanted sets boundaries. He communicates through his actions that his time and energy are valuable, and not everyone qualifies to have access to them. When you live with this kind of self-respect, you stop chasing and start attracting. Women naturally gravitate toward men who have standards because standards imply strength, discipline, and self-control, qualities that separate leaders from followers. Most importantly, living like you're already wanted is about your inner energy. It's about the way you think when you wake up in the morning, the way you carry yourself in public, and the way you look at yourself in the mirror. If your self-talk is rooted in lack, I'm not good enough, I need her to notice me, I'll never find better, then no matter what you do on the outside, she will feel that insecurity on the inside. But when your self-talk shifts to abundance, I am valuable, I am magnetic, I am wanted, that belief radiates through your body language, your tone of voice, and your presence. Women are drawn to that kind of energy because it feels secure, powerful, and unshakable. At the heart of everything we've discussed, silence, self-improvement, scarcity, detachment, subtle reappearances, and living like you're already wanted, there is one unshakable truth. The power has always been in your hands. Most men hand over their value the moment they start chasing, begging, and waiting for a woman's approval. But the moment you reverse that dynamic, the moment you stop operating from neediness and start operating from strength, everything shifts in your favor. She no longer sees you as the man who is desperate for her presence. She begins to see you as the man she has to earn back into her life. This entire process isn't just about making her chase you. It's about transforming yourself into the kind of man who doesn't need to chase anyone. When you master silence, you show her that your energy is valuable. When you upgrade yourself during the gap, you prove that you are always evolving. When you understand scarcity, you let her feel the urgency of your absence. When you detach from the outcome, you become free from desperation. When you reappear subtly, you spark her curiosity without killing it. And when you live like you're already wanted, you embody the confidence that women naturally gravitate toward. The truth is, women chase certainty, strength, and purpose. And when you embody these traits, you no longer have to worry about whether she will call, text, or come back. Because whether she does or not, you've already won. You've stepped into a version of yourself that is powerful, magnetic, and complete. And once you reach that level, the chase doesn't just come from her, it comes from life itself, because everything you desire begins to be drawn toward you.